Hey guys, this is Kiteboarding 101. No matter what board you ride, whatever kite you fly, this is the video that'll improve your skills. Kiteboarding 101 is going to be broken up into 3 sections. Section 1, I'm going to start with body position, heel side, unhooked, toe side, and switch. Then we're going to be working on some kite position and hand position. Section 2, I'm going to be working on load and pop, 180s, jumping without the kite. Section 3, I'm going to start with our first inverts, back rolls, toe side back rolls, rolls to revert, heel side, toe side, and then we're going to be doing jibe and air jibes. So good luck, pay attention, keep your finger on the rewind button. All right guys, before we get to all the technical tricks, before we can move on, we need to work on body position. It's the first building block. It's the most fundamental, basic step of improving your riding. Here to help me is Ruth. Okay, I'm going to get Ruth into position. Ruth is going to be my model for this. All right, first of all, you want to keep your knees bent, you want to keep your shoulders square, chin up, looking at the horizon. Always want to focus on the horizon. You don't want to be looking down. If you look down, it drops your chin, drops your shoulders, drops everything down. You don't want to be in the water, you want to be standing up. All right, so what you want to try and do when you're riding around is always keep your knees bent, drive your hips forward and everything. You don't want to kite around like this. You're putting too much pressure on your back. Even though you're wearing a back harness, the trick is your legs are the largest muscle group in your body. You should be using those to get maximum leverage and torque against the board and kite, all right? So when you get overpowered, instead of leaning forward and squatting down as if you're sitting in a chair, you always want to think about bending at the knees more and driving your hips and keeping the bar out in front in the direction that you're traveling. All through this, you keep hearing me making references towards the hips. Hips are super important. Where you put them makes a big difference. You're always playing a tug of war against the kite. So here we have Ruthie. She's driving her hips forward like she should. But if I was to start pulling her over, I would have to get in the same position. Use my legs, lean back, lean my shoulders into it, driving my hips forward, all right? So now, but if I was to try and pull her over and I'm bent and my hips are away from the bar, the center point of gravity, she's gonna win, she's gonna pull me over. Same with your toe side edge. Always wanna concentrate on leaning into it with your shoulders and driving your hips forward. I cannot pull Ruthie over in this body position with my hips away and my shoulders bent over. So you always concentrate, bending at the knees, driving your hips forward, and leaning your shoulders in against the kite, okay? These are the key points and these are what you wanna work on. Keeping your knees bent, your shoulders level, eyes on the horizon, and your hips forward. All right, this body position is exactly the same, except you're gonna unhook. So I'm gonna get Ruthie here to unhook. The only difference is when you unhook, you wanna think about bending at the elbows. You wanna drop the handle here. The trick is to keep the handle or the bar as close to your hips which is your center point of gravity right here, okay? You cannot physically pull the handle into your hips, but you can concentrate on keeping the bar low and keeping your elbows down by your side. So whenever you're starting to do more advanced maneuvers such as unhooked, you're doing Rayleighs or your back rolls or your front flips, you want to concentrate. As soon as you unhook, don't let the shoulders, don't have the pull come from out here. If you have the pull come from the top here, it's going to have the tendency to pull you over. Keep your knees bent, keep your elbows in by your side, drop the handle down, okay?
Here we have Martin in the unhooked position. See how he's keeping his elbows by his hips, handle down, and his knees bent. Don't forget, keep your eyes on the horizon.
Toe side body position. This one, a lot of people duff and don't do properly. You're basically playing a tug of war with the kite. Now, you cannot pull the kite, you cannot get good leverage if you're bending over the hip. As I said before with heel side body position, you want to use your legs. These are important. Don't use your back, use your legs. Make them do all the work. They're the largest muscle group in the body. Okay, I'm going to get Ruthie to jump in the toe side position here. She's going to bend at the knees, she's going to keep her hips driven forward, and she's going to keep the bar down in a low position. You want to think as if you've got a broom handle running through your hips. Wherever you point your hips, wherever you're traveling, that's the direction you're going to go. So if you're in your toe side edge, always concentrate on keeping your hips pointed in the direction that you want to travel. All right, lead hip, lead foot, that's the direction. Also with your shoulders, face your chest, keep your shoulders level and point the middle of your chest in the direction. This keeps you in correct body position, especially when it starts coming to doing your toe side back rolls and your toe side front rolls. Toe side position is a little tricky at first, but once you work on it, it'll be a super efficient edge for you to ride on.
All right, here we have Sean Ordonez. See what he's doing? He's keeping his knees bent, his head up, his hips forward, and he's pointing his lead hip in the direction he's going.
Now with kiteboarding and twin tips, even directionals, some people have a problem at the beginning with their switch. This is a great little way to cheat and improve your switch body position, especially when it comes time to trying to go up to wind, maximizing your upwind reach. Okay, I'm going to use Ruthie. We're going to pretend that Ruthie's right foot forward is her switch foot forward. Now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to get Ruthie to first bend at the knees, drive her hips forward, and then with her hips, she's going to take them and put them over her left foot. You want to concentrate on still keeping the bar over your right hip, your right foot, which is your lead, keeping your chin up, your shoulders level, and looking in the direction that you're traveling. You can also bend a little bit more on your back leg, which is her left foot, and straightening out the front one. And always concentrate on trying to keep your nose of the board always going and pointing upwind. Is that making sense to you, Ruthie?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, let's watch some guys riding in the switch position. Here we have Max. Oh, Max! Now, here we have Flash. You can see he's keeping his front leg slightly straightened. He's got his hips over his back leg, and he's waiting. He's keeping weight on the tail of the board. So, here we have Adam, placing his hips over his back foot, keeping weight on his back foot, and straightening his front leg just slightly. Hey Adam, nice back roll.
Kite position. It's important not to have your kite too low or too high. You want to have your kite at about 45, and you want to have it where it's pulling you upwind. You want to have it to the point where you're slightly levitating on the board, but you're still having a very efficient upwind reach.
So you want to keep your kite at 45 degrees, point the nose of your board upwind, and keep weight on the tail of your board. You want to have the kite so it's levitating you and it's pulling you upwind all the time. Hey, Dengue, get out of the shot. Kid's always popping up. Oh, Ronnie, that's not a good kite position. You might want to try that one again. Here's Adam. You can see he's got the kite at 45. He's weighting the tail of his board. It's cruising straight upwind. It's like you want to levitate on the back of the board. Hey, nice back roll. Here's Lou. This is at Waddell Creek. You can see he's riding really short lines. I think they're 15-meter lines.
Okay guys, one of the most important things, hand position. Your hands are controlling the kite. Without the kite, you're just a swimmer. All right, the biggest problem what everybody has is they have their hands too wide on the bar. Now, in light winds and in situations where you have to pump the kite, get your hands out nice and wide. Use the maximum leverage on the kite. Now, if you're powered up and you're starting to do the tricks, which you shouldn't be doing tricks when you're not powered up, you want to keep your hands nice and close to the inside of the bar. What this does is it keeps your body position in check, and it also stops you from overflying the kite, especially when we start doing back rolls and other inverted tricks. When you start getting upside down, the biggest #1 problem is overflying the kite. Keeping your hands into the center of the bar will stop you from doing that. Look at the pictures, watch the videos, and that's one of the secrets of all the pros. They keep their hands in nice and tight, and it stops you from overflying the kite. I cannot stress how important that is.
Okay, we've just gone over section 1. Now we're going to go over section 2. We're going to start with load and pop, going on the 180s, jumping, and then jumping without the kite.
Now that we got all the basics and all the body position fundamentals out of the way, let's start working on some tricks. First one you want to start working on is loading up and bearing off. Okay, now with these you can actually start doing some small hops without actually having to use the kite and having to boost the kite to get off the water. So it's super easy. All we're doing is we're just bearing off slightly, getting some speed underneath our board. The trick is in this one is carrying some speed. Then, as we get some speed, we're leaning back into the kite, we're keeping it at a 45-degree angle, and just giving the board a slight little flick and letting the kite pull us up and forward. As we're doing that, we're keeping the board out in front and bending our knees. If you don't do that and the board starts to get away, it's going to pull you over onto your front side edge, and you don't want that to happen. You can always recover if you always keep the board up in front, keep your knees bent, and concentrate. Don't look down. You look down, you're going to go down. So, as I was saying, you bear off, you get some speed under your board, you start to reset your edge. As you reset your edge, you give it a little flick and let it pull you up. As it pulls you up, here's a quick note. You always want to keep your lead knee a little higher than your back one and keep your board out in front of you. If you do that, you'll always land back on it. The thing is if you let the board just stay in the water, and if the board starts to get behind you, you're going to get a face slap. So concentrate on keeping the board out in front.
Okay, so you want to bear off, get some speed underneath your board, load up your progressive edge, pop off the water, and let the kite pull you up and forward. Don't forget, keep your front knee higher than your back one.
180s. Once you've learned your load and pop, now you're going to combine your load and pop and start doing some 180s. 180s is where you jump up and you throw the board into a reverse position of the direction that you were going. So, for example, if you're riding on your heel side edge, when you jump up and throw a 180, you're going to land and keep going on your toe side edge. So, let's break this trick down. First of all, you're going to use that load and pop we just talked about. You're going to get a little bit of height. Once you get up in the air, this is where it's going to change. Instead of just keeping your front knee high, you're going to stamp your front foot down first. So, jump up, turn the board, stamp your lead foot down on the water, and land and ride away on your toe side edge. Now, if you're taking off on your toe side edge, it's exactly the same. Load up, jump off your toe side edge. As you're up in the air, turn your hips, face your back hip, leading forward, land and stamp your front foot in the water first, let your back foot follow.
Okay, let's watch Starve. See how he's loading his board off. He's going to pop off the water, rotate his board, stamp his lead foot into the water, and let his back foot follow and ride away on his toe side edge. Nice 180, Starve.
All through this video, we're going to work on takeoffs. We're not going to work on landings, only when it comes to blind. If you're having a problem in the air or if you're having a problem with the trick, always go back to the beginning. Don't worry about the landing, worry about the beginning. If you concentrate, if you break everything up into steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you work on those steps, everything will be fine. You'll land and complete the trick. Don't ever confuse the steps. Don't go 1, 3, 4, 5. All right, always go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you stick to that, and if you always work on your tricks and break every trick up into steps, you won't have a problem landing them, okay? Okay, jumping, super easy, lots of fun. With this one, you want to start to widen out your hands. Now, as you're edging upwind, you want to start gathering a little speed. You want to focus, you want to start bringing the kite up. You don't want to bring the kite from low and yank it all the way up. You want to start slowly creeping the kite up. You don't want to start with it super high. You want to have a little momentum in the kite, carrying it up. Don't forget, don't overfly the kite. If you think of your kite, and as you're flying it as a clock face,
Sort of, when you want to start jumping, you want to start the kite at about 2 o'clock and then fly it up to 12 o'clock. Then, depending on the wind conditions, you can fly it over to 11 o'clock, keeping it over there a little longer, and then back over to 2.
if you're having problems in the air and you're not flying your kite back, here's a quick little tip. Drop the handle down. Always keep your lead hand on, especially if you're hooked in, and crank the kite.
So you want to start with your kite at about 45-degree angle. You want to time your maximum load with kite liftoff. Then bring the kite up to 12. While you're up in the air, don't forget, keep your lead hand on the bar. That'll help you to bring the kite back down so you don't overcrank the kite. You want to work on this trick and practice it. It's a fun one to do.
Okay, jumping without the kite. You always want to keep it on about 45. As I said before, as we're working on load and pop, you want to just bear off, and the secret is getting a little bit of speed. So as you bear off, you're gaining a little speed and you start to set your edge. Now here's a trick. Don't start to edge instantly straight away. You're not going to get anywhere. You want to start to slowly, progressively increase the edge of your board. As you're doing that, you're loading everything up. You're loading the kite up. Thing is don't load too long. There's a fine line between doing it too short or too long, and it's for you to start working out depending on what kite and board you're riding. The thing is you just want to start nice and slow, and before you do any tricks or any jumps, you want to maximize the load right before. If you load too long, you will bring the kite too far to the edge of the window and you will depower it. So that's a trick, and that's something for you to work on.
Just like you worked on with load and pop, you want to keep your kite at 45 degrees, start your progressive edge. Let the kite pull you up and forward. Always keep your front knee higher than your back, and you want to land, reset your edge. For more loft in your jumping, you can keep the kite just slightly a little higher.
Okay, let's work on going blind. First of all, you just want to hop up into your blind position. You want to just start doing that. You want to just tap around. We're going to work on that in a bit. I'm just going to use Ruthie here as an example. So Ruthie, you're going to jump up and go into your blind position. Now, here are some keys when riding in blind. The trick is, as we've said before, it's in the hips and it's in the knees. So Ruthie's going to bend at the knees. She's going to keep her hips driven forward on this. Now, you're traveling in this direction and your back is turned to the direction that you're going. That's why it's called riding blind. Now, you can either look from the direction that you came, even though you're traveling in this direction, or you can turn completely around and look towards the direction that you're traveling in. The trick with this one is keeping your head up and bending at the knees. Always keeping your head up. The biggest problem with this one is too many people drop their head down. If you drop your head down, as I said before, drop your head down, drops your shoulders down, everything else falls in the water. So if you keep your knees bent and your chest up and looking in either direction that you came from or the direction you're traveling, you can ride through the gnarliest chop and still survive. Another key point for this one is putting a lot of weight on your back big toe. So the back big toe was the foot that was going forward. You've jumped into the blind position, driving your weight onto that knee and keeping the weight off your front leg, which is traveling in that direction now, and still keeping your chin up.
Okay, you want to hop up into your blind position. Keep your head up, bend at the knees, not at the waist. Keep your back straight.
We've just gone over jumping with and without the kite. Let's just start on some basic grabs. Grabs are probably going to be your first trick you're going to try anyway. They're super fun and they look stylish. All the top guys, everyone, grabs. It's one of the most fun things to do in this sport. Any board sport, grabbing's the trick. So the thing with grabbing, whenever you're jumping either unhooked or hooked in, is the trick is you want to bring the board up to you. Don't reach down to do the grab. If you reach down to do the grab, you're losing height, you're getting out of body position, and you're only just asking for trouble. The trick is to bring the board up to you. It maximizes your lift, it gets you in correct body position, and it makes the grab so much cleaner and easier to do.
Don't forget, bring the board up to you, then make the grab. Don't bend over to make the grab, otherwise you'll lose height. You've just gone over section 1 and section 2. Now it's time for section 3. We're going to be working on your first basic inverts. Back rolls, toe side back rolls, rolls to revert, heel side and toe side, jibe and air jibe.
All right guys, this is where the fun begins. You've just learned how to jump with and without the kite, you've just learnt load. So you're going to combine those and you're going to start throwing your first basic inverts. First one you should learn, back rolls. Let's start with those. So we're going to break all the tricks up into simple steps. I'm going to start at 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on how complex the trick is, depending on how many steps are involved in doing it. So with the back rolls, step 1, you want to load down and you want to start your progressive edge. Step 2, to initiate the trick, you want to throw the board. When you start to really load up, right at the end of your load, you want to throw your lead foot up and away from the kite on a 45-degree angle, okay? And then step 3, all you're gonna do is just put your chin to your shoulder and look for your landing. So let's break that down again. Step 1, get into your progressive load. Step 2, throw your lead foot up and away from the kite. Step 3, look over your shoulder and spot your landing. And that's a back roll. Now, a couple little secrets with that trick is you either want to keep both hands on the handle, keep them in nice and close, or you can take off your backhand, which happens to be my left one in this case, okay? Now, if you're having any problems with that, don't forget, don't overflow the kite. Keep it just a little higher than 45. You can cheat a little by keeping it up just slightly a little higher, but you don't need to use the kite. Keep it up, so.
Start to load up your edge. Throw your lead foot up and away on a 45-degree angle. Put your chin to your lead shoulder and spot your landing right away. Good luck.
Once you got your heel side back roll down and you're doing that competently, now you can start with your toe side. So you already should have your toe side edge down, you should have your body position correct. Now this is exactly the same. You want to start with, you want to get a little speed underneath your board, you want to start with your progressive edge. You want to go from slight to hard. Okay, now We're gonna break this up into steps. Step 1, get into your progressive edge. Step 2 is exactly the same as doing your heel side back roll. You're gonna take your lead foot. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. You're actually throwing it away from the kite. So you wanna bend at the knees, keep your hips forward. Step 2, throw your lead foot up and away from the kite on a 45-degree angle. Step 3, you wanna look over your lead shoulder, you wanna look over the back of your shoulder and spot your landing. Take it up and away from the kite, okay? Don't forget, always keep your hands in the middle of the bar and don't overfly the kite on those tricks. You can keep the kite a little higher than 45 cheats, it'll help you lift off the water a little, okay?
Start your progressive load on your toe side edge. Throw your foot up and away on a 45-degree angle. Put your chin to your back shoulder and spot your landing.
Okay, we just went over back rolls, hooked in. Now let's go over back rolls, unhooked. Exactly the same, except all you're doing is you're unhooking, you're keeping your elbows in by the side of your body, keeping your knees bent, and you're initiating the trick that way. So what you're gonna do is you start to unhook, get your speed, get your progressive edge. And as you start to throw the trick, all you want to think about doing is keeping your elbows in by your body. You don't have to keep the handle on either one of the hips, just keep your elbows in beside your body. Throw the trick, step 1, progressive edge. Step 2, throw your lead foot up and away on a 45-degree angle, okay? Letting your hips and shoulders follow. Step 3, putting your chin to your shoulder, looking up and over, coming around and spotting your landing, all right? Now, this trick can be done one-handed as well by keeping your lead hand on, except with your hand position, instead of having your hands on this side of the bar, you're gonna have to start putting your lead hand in the middle of the bar. If you have the chicken loop set up like this, you can maybe wrap your fingers around it, just like that, okay? And then you can throw it one-handed, all right?
Get some speed under your board, start your progressive load. Unhook, keep your elbows by your side, throw your lead foot up and away on a 45-degree angle, put your chin to your lead shoulder, and spot your landing.
Now, rolls to revert. You can do these hooked in or unhooked as well. So let's try it hooked in. Roll to revert. You're gonna throw the roll to revert the same way you would the back roll, except you're gonna be landing to revert. So we're gonna go in exactly the same. First 3 steps, progressive edge, step 1, step 2, throwing your foot up and away on a 45-degree angle. Step 3, looking over your shoulder and spotting your landing. This is where it starts to change. As you're coming around, as you spot your landing and you're still coming around, you're going to take, instead of bringing in your board nose first, you're going to be coming in and you're actually going to be stamping your nose into the water, which is your lead foot, and letting your back foot come around and land onto your toe side edge. All right? Now, if you're doing this trick unhooked, you're gonna come around and you're actually gonna start to force the handle. So as you start and you wanna think about stamping your lead foot into the water and rolling onto your toe side edge, you can actually let go with your lead hand, which actually now becomes your backhand, and maybe rolling the bar over slightly, which will drop your shoulders forward and get you over onto your toe side edge. All right, guys?
Same as your back rolls. Start your progressive load, throw your lead foot up and away on a 45-degree angle. Put your chin to your lead shoulder, and as you spot your landing, stamp your lead foot and land on your toe side edge. Let your back foot follow.
Toe side back rolls to revert. This is another easy trick to do because it's the natural rotation of the trick. To actually go from toe side to toe side, it's a little harder. You have to force that trick. So it's exactly the same when you're doing a toe side back roll. You want to bend at your knees, get your progressive edge. Step 2, throw the foot, throw your edge up and away from the kite. Kick it over and around. Step 3, look over your shoulder and spot your landing. As you're coming around for your landing, instead of kicking your lead foot through and landing it onto your toe side edge, you can actually come around and just turn your hips and face the kite with your hips and land on your heel side edge. Super fun trick to do, super easy, just gotta throw it, guys.
Get some speed under your board. Start your progressive load on your toe side edge. throw your lead foot up and away on a 45-degree angle, put your chin to your back shoulder, and as you spot your landing, let your back foot come through first and land on your heel side edge.
All right, so you're actually cruising around. Here's a quick little tip for you guys. It's better to keep some speed in your kite, especially when you're jibing. Instead of just cruising and then deciding to go back from the direction you just came by stopping in the water, putting your kite in neutral and just turning around, try doing a 180 to it and try keeping a speed through a nice smooth jibe. So all you want to do, if you're traveling, say we're going to be traveling in this direction, all you want to do is practice doing the load and pop as we talked about before. Do your progressive edge. Keep the kite at about 45, hop up. As you go up into your jump, and remember I told you to keep your lead knee, it's exactly the same as if you would be to landing revert. You want to take your lead foot and stamp it in the water. Just stamp it over and let your back one follow. So all you're going to do is you're just going to jump up, stamp your lead foot into the water, land on your toe side edge. As you're doing that, you can let go, which was your lead hand, now it's your backhand, and crank the kite back the other way. Remember, don't overfly it. Don't keep your hands all nice and wide. Keep your hands in the middle of the bar and just turn the kite around nice and slow. As the kite starts to power up and turn the other direction, instead of it yanking you off the water, just point your nose of the board towards the kite. Let the kite pull you around, set up your edge, and continue off in the other direction. So, right then, you've just kept a lot more speed in your kite and you've only lost minimal of ground, and that was just doing a 180.
Using your 180, you want to start by jumping into your 180 position. Turn your kite. As the kite lifts you, you want to turn the nose of your board towards the kite. Reset and ride away on your heel side edge.
Okay, so you're using the kite to jump, you know how to do the pop. Let's start with doing a simple air jibe, okay? It's very easy to do. It's like jumping, except instead of doing the jump where you're cranking back with your backhand, getting the kite up to 12, and then as you're coming down, you're cranking with your front hand to reset the kite, land on your edge and go. What you're gonna do is you're just gonna keep the kite up at 12. Wait till you're right as you're just about to hit the water, and with the same hand that you used to bring the kite up to get the lift, you're just gonna pull back slightly and bring the kite down in the other direction. So let's say we're traveling in this direction, gonna use your left hand. You're gonna bring the kite from about 3 up to 12. You're gonna get a little bit of air. As I said before, you wanna start small, work your way high. Higher the wind, easier these tricks are. So you're bringing the kite from 3, you're coming up to 12, you're keeping it there. Right as you're just about to get to the water, you want to crank with the same hand that you used to get the air with and bring it back down to the other side, down to 9 o'clock, land on your edge, set your rail, ride off.
Start with your kite at 45 degrees. Bring the kite up to 12 o'clock position. Let the kite lift you off the water. As you come down, use the same hand you used to jump to turn the kite back down. Land, reset your edge, ride away. Thanks for watching Kiteboarding 101. Now that you have all the building blocks and fundamentals, go out and create your own riding style. You are ready for Kiteboarding 201. Have fun. Most people kite in places where there aren't waves, but you can still practice a basic wave riding even if it's flat. Just like you've seen all through this video, and as I've been suggesting, you always want to start small and work your way up big. Just like jumping, waves are the same. You want to start and practice these techniques on smaller waves and then work your way up to the monsters. Okay, step 1, pick your wave. Step 2, as the wave is starting to build, this is when you want to use your jibe. Step 3, crank the kite, go into your jibe, let the kite pull you from your heel side edge over onto your toe side edge, point the nose of the board towards the wave. Step 4, crank the kite back the other direction, go up, hit the lip. Step 5, reset your edge, and start with step 2 again. Now that you have the basics of wave riding down, you can go out and practice it. Wave riding takes years and years and lots of experience to really dial it in. So, take what you've learned in Wave Riding Kiteboarding 101, dial it in, and get ready to learn more in Kiteboarding 201. So good luck, sit back, watch the footage, have fun.